anak creating a special geographic area in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao to be known as the Moro Province, appropriating funds for and for other purposes by Senator Padilla.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
2009, anak converting the Siquijor State College in the Municipality of Alena, Province of Siquijor, including its extension campus in the Municipality of Lasi, Province of Siquijor, into a state university and appropriating funds for by Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Higher Education, Ways and Means, and Finance.
2010, anak creating the Philippine Rice Development Authority, defining its powers and functions, providing funds for and for other purposes by Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Environment and Finance.
2011, anak amending Public Number 7581 as amended, otherwise known as the Price Act and for other purposes by Senator Aquino.
Referred to the Committee on Trade.
2012, anak providing alternative modes of voting for persons in vulnerable situations to exercise the right of suffrage, amended with the purpose Republic Number 10366, providing for and for other purposes by Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Electoral Reforms, Social Justice, and Finance.
2013, anak providing all barangay officials, including barangay tanods, members of Lupong Tagmamapayapa, barangay health workers, and barangay daycare workers, a lump sum retirement pay equivalent to 1 year honorarium, amending for the purpose Section 393 of Public Number 7160 as amended, otherwise known as the Local Government Code of 1991 by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committee on Local Government.
2014, anak making the position of tourism officer mandatory in the municipal, city, and provincial levels, amending for the purpose of Public Number 7160, otherwise known as the Local Government Code of 1991 by Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Local Government and Tourism.
2015, anak standardizing the retirement benefits of justices, judges, and judiciary officials with judicial rank, salary, and privileges, and providing much therefore, amending for the purpose Republic Number 910 as amended by Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Justice, Civil Service, and Finance.
2016, anak establishing a ban on the presentation of solid waste, providing penalties and for other purposes by Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Environment, Trade, and Finance.
2017, anak providing for free freight services in the transportation of relief goods of calamity-stricken areas by Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Public Services and Ways and Means.
2018, anak creating the Magna Carta for public transportation drivers, promoting for their rights, welfare, and social protection and for other purposes by Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Public Services, Labor, and Finance.
2019, anak allowing the use of digital copy of identity cards in government transactions by Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Science and Technology and Finance.
2020, anak recognizing the existence of national emergency arising from 2026 global oil crisis and adopting a national policy for a whole-of-government response to ensure energy security, food stability, and economic resilience, and authorizing the President for a limited period and subject to restrictions to exercise necessary and proper emergency powers and providing for certain measures and institutional mechanisms that shall continue beyond the emergency and for other purposes by Senator Legarda.
To the Committees on Finance, Energy, and Ways and Means.
2021, anak asserting the social function of land by mandating the utilization of idle and developed lands for food production, aligning national agencies and district representatives for emergency food security and providing total tax exemptions by Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Agriculture, Ways and Means, and Finance.
2022, anak granting temporary value-added tax exemption on basic commodities and reducing excise tax on petroleum products by 50% for a period of 3 months during a declared national emergency or state of calamity and for other purposes by Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Ways and Means and Energy.
2023, anak amending sections 9, 10, 12, and 16 of Republic Act Number 10586, otherwise as Anti-Drug and Drug Driving Act of 2013 by Senator Tulfo R.
To the Committees on Public Order and Public Services.
2024, anak expanding derivative Filipino citizenship and providing for the acquisition of Filipino citizenship with the children of former natural-born Filipino citizens by Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Justice and Constitutional Amendments.
2025, anak amending Section 4, Republic Number 9225, otherwise known as the Citizenship Retention and Acquisition Act of 2003 and for other purposes by Senator Marcos.
Referred to the Committee on Justice. There is additional reference. 12 pages. Majority Leader, would you like to continue with the, you would like to continue with the reference of business? All right. The Secretary will drink water and continue with the additional reference of business. Or would you like Attorney Mavic to
Okay lang, sir.
help you? Go ahead.
Additional reference of business. Messages of the President of the Philippines. Letter of His Excellency President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., dated 23 March 2026, submitting for the Senate's consideration and concurrence the agreement between the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Government of Canada concerning the status of visiting forces of each state in the territory of other state, which was signed 02 November 2025 in Makati, Philippines.
Referred to the Committee on Foreign Relations.
Letter of His Excellency President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., dated 13 April 2026, submitting for the Senate's consideration and concurrence the ASEAN Treaty on Extradition, which was signed on 14 November 2025 in Manila, Philippines.
To the Committee on Foreign Relations.
Letter of His Excellency President R. Marcos Jr., dated 13 April 2026, submitting for the Senate's consideration and concurrence the agreement between the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Government of New Zealand on the status of visiting forces, which was signed on 30 April 2025 in Manila, Philippines.
To the Committee on Foreign Relations.
Messages from the House of Representatives. Letter from the House of Representatives informing that the Senate, that on 18 March 2026, designated Representatives Romulo, Asidre, Cruz, Roman III, and Tino as conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the Screen Provision of House Bill Number 4745, titled An Act Institutionalizing the Public Basic Education Schools in Geographically Isolated and Disadvantaged and Conflict-Affected Areas, providing access roads leading to last mile schools and appropriating funds therefore, and Senate Bill number 1937, titled An Act Institutionalizing Support for Public Basic Education Schools in Geographically Isolated and Disadvantaged Areas and appropriating funds therefore.
To the Committee on Rules.
Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 18 March 2026, the designated Representatives Romulo, Gatchalian, Fresnedi, Veloso Tuason, and Co. as conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the Second Previous House Bill number 5939, titled An Act Allowing the Department of Education the flexibility to determine the pedagogical approaches to be implemented in the basic education curriculum, amending for the purpose Section 5 of Republic number 10533, or the Enhanced Basic Education Act 2013, and Senate Bill number 1899, titled An Act Allowing the Department of Education the flexibility to determine the pedagogical approaches to be implemented in the basic education curriculum, amending for the purpose Section 5 of Republic number 10533, or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate on 18 March 2026 it adopted Senate Bill number 1982 as amended to House Bill number 8418, titled An Act Authorizing the President of the Philippines to suspend or reduce the excise taxes on food products during national or global economic emergencies, amending for the purpose the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended.
To the Archives.
Letter from the House of Representatives informing that the Senate on 18 March 2026 it adopted Senate Bill number 1719 as amended to House Bill number 7301, titled An Act Declaring the month of April every year as a Philippine Veterans Month.
To the Archives.
Bills on first reading. Senate Bill number 2026, titled An Act Establishing the Emergency Oil Price Stabilization Fund, repealing for the purpose Republic number 8479, otherwise known as the Downstream Oil Industry Deregulation Act of 1998, in appropriating funds therefore, by Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Energy and Finance.
2027, An Act Establishing a National Program for Urban Farming to address food security, poverty, and sustainability in urban areas and for other purposes, by Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Agriculture and Finance.
2028, An Act Institutionalizing the Presidential Merit Scholarship Program and appropriating funds therefore, by Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Higher Education and Finance.
2029, An Act Establishing a Comprehensive, Integrated, and Sustainable Integration Program for Overseas Filipino Workers, by Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Migrant Workers and Finance.
2030, An Act Amending Act number 4103 as amended, otherwise known as Intermediate Sentence Law, and for other purposes by Senator Padilla.
To the Committee on Justice.
2031, an act promoting the development, modernization, and population of inland and coastal water transportation in the Philippines, including eco-friendly ferry services and for other purposes, by Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Public Services, Ways and Means, and Finance.
2032, an act providing relief and recovery interventions to low-income farmers, earners, minimum wage earners, self-earning individuals, and micro, small, and medium enterprises amid the national energy emergency, by Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Finance and Trade.
2033, an act providing for fuel crisis immediate relief and response measures, by Senator Go.
To the Committees on Finance and Trade.
2034, an act banning the importation, manufacture, marketing, offering for sale, distribution, and use of disposable vapes, providing penalties therefor and for other purposes, by Senator Cayetano P.
To the Committees on Health and Trade.
2035, an act exempting qualified Indian Filipinos from payment of professional examination fees and for other purposes, by Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Social Justice and Civil Service.
2036, an act promoting active mobility through the establishment of safe pathways network and development of walkable, bikeable, and streetable communities and for other purposes, by Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Sustainable Development Goals, Public Services, and Finance.
2037, an act mandating and institutionalizing rollover data allocation scheme and providing penalties therefor, by Senator Tulfo E.
Referred to the Committee on Public Services.
2038, an act declaring a one-time amnesty on all unpaid internal revenue taxes imposed by the national government for taxable year 2024 and prior years, by Senator Tulfo E.
Referred to the Committee on Ways and Means.
2039, an act providing for automatic refund for internet and telecommunication services, outage, and disruptions, and providing penalties for, by Senator Tulfo E.
Referred to the Committee on Public Services.
2040, an act establishing the Philippine Strategic Petroleum Reserve, providing funds for and for other purposes, by Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Energy and Finance.
2041, an act institutionalizing a national telemedicine system in the Philippines, by Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Health and Finance.
2042, an act mandating the automatic registration for military instruction of all citizens between the ages of 18 and 25 years, amending for this purpose Republic Number 7077, otherwise known as the Citizen Armed Forces of the Philippines Service Act, by Senator Padilla.
Referred to the Committee on National Defense and Security.
2043, an act temporarily suspending or reducing the imposition of value-added tax on petroleum products, amending for the purpose the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended, and for
Referred
other
to
purposes,
committee.
by Senator Legarda.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
Resolutions. Resolution number 351. Resolution directing the appropriate Senate committees to conduct an inquiry into legislation on the need to review and amend Republic Number 8479, otherwise known as the Downstream Oil Agency Regulation Act of 1998, to empower the government to regulate oil prices in light of recent global oil price shocks brought about by escalating United States-Israel-Iran conflict within the view of strengthening energy security, enhancing price transparency, and protecting Filipino consumers, by Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Energy and Trade.
352, resolution urging the Executive Department to exercise the period of clemency during the holy month of Ramadan in the spirit of compassion, mercy, and national unity, by Senator Padilla.
Referred to the Committee on Justice.
353, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in the realization of the measures taken by the Philippine government to address potential adverse effects of Philippines' participation in regional comprehensive economic partnership, by Senator Marcos.
Referred to the Committee on Foreign Relations.
354, resolution recognizing and honoring the late Senator Jose Wright Diokno as the Philippines' father of the human rights for exemplary leadership, unwavering integrity, and enduring contributions to the advancement of human rights, social justice, and the rule of law, by Senator Pangilinan.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
355, resolution congratulating and commending Autumn Jane Durald Arcapao for historic win at Academy Awards for the first Filipina and first woman to win Best Cinematography, by Senator Pangilinan.
To the Committee on Rules.
356, resolution congratulating and commending Filipino gymnast Eldro Yulo for winning the gold medal in men's floor exercise at the Federación Internacional de Artistic Gymnastics World Cup Series at Antalya, Turkey.
To the
By
Committee
Senator
on
Labi.
Rules.
357, resolution directing the Senate Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality to conduct an investigation and implementation of blocks and other online gaming platforms with the end in view of recommending the establishment of mandatory age verification protocols and child safety standards to prevent online sexual abuse, exploitation of children, grooming, violent radicalization, and other emerging digital threats consistent with international best practice and child safety laws by Senator Tiveros.
Referred to the Committee on Women.
358, resolution strongly urging President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. to initiate bilateral talks with the People's Republic of China and Malaysia for purposes of cooperation in oil and gas exploration and development by Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Foreign Relations and Energy.
359, resolution urging appropriate government agencies to provide a comprehensive public update on the status of Philippine government's claim over North Borneo, including any diplomatic engagements or negotiations with Malaysia, and ensure transparency and public awareness thereon, taking into consideration national interest security and historical education by Senator Padilla.
Referred to the Committee on Foreign Relations.
360, resolution congratulating and commending the Gilas Pilipinas women's basketball team for its historic achievement in the winning the silver medal at FIBA 3x3 Asia Cup 2026 and for bringing pride and honor to the country by Senator Villanueva.
To the Committee on Rules.
361, resolution urging all local government units to conduct an inventory of idle lands within their jurisdiction and develop operate programs for utilization in food security initiatives by Senator Padilla.
Referred to Committees on Local Government and Agriculture.
362, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in the investigation in the reported ambush incident in Barangay Madre Poblacion, Sharif Aguac, Maguindanao del Sur, which resulted in the deaths of the injury of the members of Philippine National Police by Senator Padilla.
Referred to Committee on Public Order.
363, resolution commending and congratulating Gilas Pilipinas women's team for winning the historic silver medal in the FIBA 3x3 Asia Cup held in Singapore last April 1 to 5, 2026 by Senator Estrada.
To the Committee on Rules.
364, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in need of legislation and strengthening public information, transparency, and competition regulation in the downstream oil industry with the end of view of ensuring fair pricing, preventing anti-competitive practices, and protecting consumers in times of crisis by Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Energy and Trade.
365, resolution congratulating and commending Patrick Gerald Lee for winning the bronze medal in the men's C5 squash race at the Asian Cycling Confederation Track and Para-Track Cycling Championships by Senator Villanueva.
To the Committee on Rules.
366, resolution urging the government-owned and controlled corporations engaged in lending, particularly the Social Security System, Home Development Mutual Fund, National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation, Social Housing Finance Corporation, Development Bank of the Philippines, Land Bank of the Philippines, and other similar entities to provide loan moratoriums, grace periods, penalty condonation, and other relief measures to ease the burden of borrowers and members amid the existing national energy emergency by Senator Villar M.
To the Committee on Government Corporations.
367, resolution congratulating and commending Filipino pole vaulter Ernest John of Vienna for winning the gold medal at the 12th Asian Indoor Athletics Championships, cementing his legacy as the only pole vaulter to hold all major Asian titles simultaneously by Senator Cayetano.
To the Committee on Rules.
Committee report. Committee report number 56, submitted jointly with the Committees on Local Government and Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change regarding privilege of Senator Irwin T. Tulfo, entitled Alleged LGU Bypass in Dupax del Norte Mining, together with the administration of Senators Ontiveros, Padilla, and Legarda, dated February 2, 2026, recommending for adoption of the report and its implementation by Senator Estrada.
To the calendar for ordinary business. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just for the record as well, before we take up other matters on the agenda, for Senate Bill number 1511, Protection Against Hospital Detention, Senator Pia Cayetano will no longer interpolate and just introduce amendments. And we thank Senator Pia Cayetano for that. And so we'll close the bit of interpolation in a bit, Mr. President. But with that, I move that we take up Senate Bill number 1894 under Committee Report number 31. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of 1894 is in order.
This is, we are in the period of amendments, Mr. President. The sponsor, Senator Lauren Legarda, I believe, is ready for her amendments for the measure. I may be recognized, sir, for that period of amendments.
All right, Senator Lauren Legarda is recognized for the amendments to be proposed, and the copy that we will be using is the clean copy as of the 18th of March, 2026.
Yes,
All right.
thank you, Mr. President.
You may proceed.
Thank you. On page 12, line 28, replace the word create with determine the additional. Still on the same page,
Wait. Page 12, line 28.
replace the word create with the term determine the additional.
And you would like to continue before we approve that?
Yes, and still on the same page,
Go ahead.
line 32, replace the period with a comma, delete the phrase recruitment, selection, and appointment to such positions shall be subject to, up to page 13, line 2, and in lieu thereof, insert the phrase in accordance with DBM and applicable. Therefore, the amended provision shall read as follows. The CHED and TESDA, as implementing agencies under this Act, shall determine the additional plantilla positions as may be necessary to ensure the effective administration and implementation of the programs herein established in accordance with DBM and applicable civil service laws, rules, and regulations. Close parenthesis, period. I submit, Mr. President.
There is no parenthesis. After regulations, period.
Period.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, adopted.
Thank you. That's all, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Let's go, we'll take a break. That's it, Madam? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President. There are no further amendments on the measure. Move to close the period of amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none, period of amendments closed.
Mr. President, with that, I move to approve on second reading Senate Bill number 1894 and the Committee Report number 31. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1894 is approved on second reading.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to suspend consideration of the measure.
Consideration of the measure suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to take up the other measure for amendments. I move to consider Senate Bill number 1966 under Committee Report number 46.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of 1966 is in order.
I believe this is also a LEDAC measure. I think the first one was also a LEDAC measure, Mr. President. Both are LEDAC measures, Mr. President. I move that we recognize the sponsor, Senator Erwin Tulfo, for his amendments, Mr. President.
The sponsor, Senator Erwin Tulfo, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, may I introduce my additional individual amendment to Senate Bill number 1966, based on a clean copy as of March 18, 2026.
Yes.
On page 16, lines 19 to 20, delete the sentence, "The IXJCOC shall conduct a hearing every 6 months to review the implementation of this act and identify other necessary legislation." And in lieu thereof, insert the paragraph, "Within 2 years from the effectivity of this act, the IXJCOC shall convene to conduct a comprehensive review of its implementation and, based thereon, recommend appropriate remedial legislation or identify other necessary legislative measures, such as review shall include a systematic evaluation of the impact of this act, the accomplishments of the program, performance of the implementing agencies, and any inherent deficiencies in the law. Thereafter, the IXJCOC shall convene annually to undertake an update of such review. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved and adopted.
That is my additional individual amendment, Mr. President. Thank you.
Majority Leader, there's no more amendments. There are no more amendments.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. With that, there be no other amendments. I move to close the period of amendments on
Any
Senate Bill number
objection?
1966.
Hearing none, period of amendments closed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we approve on second reading Senate Bill number 1966.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1966 is approved on second reading.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Move to suspend consideration of the same.
Consideration of the measure suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I ask for a minute suspension, Mr. President?
Is that the Senate minute or you
Yes,
really want
Mr.
me?
President, we may have a Senate minute suspension.
All
just
right,
to get
the session is suspended for 1 Senate minute.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we take up Senate Bill number 1511. I so move, Mr. President. This
Any
is the-
objection?
Thank you.
Hearing none, Senate Bill 1511's consideration is in order.
This is the protection against hospital detention. We just like to close, since there are no longer any members who wish to interpolate the measure. I move that we close the period of interpolations.
Yes, the parliamentary status was in the period of interpolation,
That's
and
correct,
therefore the motion now is to close. Any objection? Hearing none. Period of interpolation is closed.
Thank you, Mr. President. And we'll just await, we'll suspend consideration of the measure while we're waiting for the amendments from the sponsor, Mr. President.
All right, consideration of the measure is suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we recognize our distinguished colleague from Davao and Isabela and the Republic of the Philippines, Senator Raffy Tulfo, to avail of the privilege hour.
Senator Rafi Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, today I would like to call everyone's attention again on matters of law enforcement. I may sound like a broken record, but as long as nangyayari ang mga ganitong bagay, hindi po ako mapapagod sa pagkalampag sa ating mga kinaukulan. Last Friday, lumapit sa aking programa si Muhammad Alfad na taga-barangay Sinunok, Zamboanga City. Humihingi po siya ng hustisya dahil sa namatay ang kanyang ama na si Jerry Alfad, ang kanyang kapatid na 12 taon na si Salam Alfad, at kanyang pinsan na si Reynan Alfad. At nasa hospital naman ang dalawang kamag-anak dahil sa isang operation ng AFP at PNP kung saan isang Saddam Siddiq ay ang subject ng isang warrant. I invite you to please watch this short video.
Natutulog na po yung papa ko, yung kapatid ko, yung mama ko, pati yung dalawang sisters ko, at saka yung pinsan ko. Bigla po may putok na narinig. Ang sabi po ng mga pumasok, ma'am, sa loob, dapa daw po, dapa, labas. Yung pinsan ko po natamaan. Madami po sila, ma'am. Mga 20 ganyan yung labas-pasok po. Nilagyan ako ng firewire, ma'am, sa kamay ko. And then after ilang minutes, ma'am, Nagpaputok sila ulit ng 3 times. Pagtingin ko ganyan, ma'am, may pulis na doon sa labas. Tapos nakita ko na yung pinsan ko, ma'am, nakahandusay na po, wala ng buhay. Tapos yung papa ko din po.
Muhammad, sino daw yung hinahanap nila?
Yung sinasabi nila kasi, ma'am, yung si Saddam Siddiq, yung ano daw, parang MNLF na Abu Sayyaf.
Mr. President, the encounter happened at 1:30 a.m. at the residence of the Al-Fads. According to survivor Muhammad, natutulog ng ilan sa kanilang pamilya noong panahon na yon na makarinig siya ng tunog na parang umuulan. Yung pala, bala ng umuulan sa kanilang tahanan. Noong lumabas siya ng kwarto, pinadapa siya ng mga operatiba at nakarinig pa siya ng mga barilan kahit nakapasok na sa bahay ang mga operatiba. Noong matapos ang operations, nalaman niya na napatay ang kanyang ama, kapatid at pinsan. Walang pulis na nagpaliwanag sa kanya kung ano ang dahilan ng pagsugod nila. At nalaman niya na lang na sa mga tao sa kanila na may hinuhuli daw na isang Saddam Siddiq ang mga operatiba. Ayon kay Muhammad, walang ganong tao sa kanilang tahanan at hindi niya ito kakilala. Samantala, ayon sa PNP, an exchange of fire broke out when they were about to serve multiple warrant of arrest for murder and frustrated murder on Saddam Siddiq, a member of Abu Sayyaf group. They said the operating team introduced themselves as police and military personnel, but 2 unidentified individuals reportedly opened fire, prompting them to retaliate in self-defense. Ito na naman po tayo. Sa ngalan ng self-defense, namatay ang 3 inosenteng sibilyan. Ang masakit dito, kinumbin pa ng investigators na wala sa lugar si Saddam Siddiq at hindi pa rin ito nahuhuli. Sa ngayon po, 14 na military officials ang makakasuhan ng multiple murder, frustrated murder, criminal negligence at robbery. Talaga namang sukdulan ng kawalang hiyaan na nagawa pa nilang magnakaw. At ang nakapagtaka, bakit puro AFP lang ang kinasuhan? May ginawa bang PNP operatives upang pigilan ang mga karahasan? Hindi lang po itong kaso ang nakarating sa akin kung saan ang ating mga law enforcers ay lumabis sa kanilang mga operations. Paulit-ulit na lang na sumusugod ang mga ito at kakalampagin ang mga nanahimik na mga komunidad. Please watch po this video.
Bigla daw pong may nang raid daw po. Pero tapos na po yung sabong nung araw po na yon. Nagulat na lang po kami. Sinabi po sa amin nung kapatid ko na nabaril daw po yung pinsan ko. Yung non-raid po, mga nakasibilyan po.
Sabi po nila sa akin na may tinatago daw po kaming kriminal. Gusto nilang huliin. Bakit daw po namin pinatakbo sa taas?
Mr. President, there are 5 issues that I would like to raise with regard to our law enforcers. First, the lack of planning. All the victims of mistaken identity and all the collateral damages during law enforcement operations are victims of lack of planning. Dito po sa nangyari sa mga Al-Fad, sabi ng mga operatiba, minaman-manan nila itong si Siddiq at napag-alaman nila na nandoon daw ito sa lugar nila Al-Fad. Pero kung alam nila yon, alam din sana nila na may ibang tao doon. At dahil 1:30 a.m., alam din sana nila na iba ang kaba ng mga tao kapag may susugod sa bahay nila na madaling araw. Baka kaya may nangyaring barilan. The time and surrounding circumstances should have been taken into consideration. Who are the people present during the operations? Is it a dense community where people could be affected by the operations? They should also protect the community. Hindi yung gagawin ng lahat basta matugis lang itong isang tao. Hindi yung baril na lang ng baril. This is what happened in Navotas when the 17-year-old Jimboy Baltasar was gunned down by police operatives using high-powered arms. At dito po nga pasok ang pangalawang issue, the use of excessive force. A few months ago, I encountered another case where the police did not follow the rules of engagement. I invite you to please watch the video.
In this case, maliwanag na itong inyong subject tumatakas at kita doon sa video na hindi nakikipagbarilan and yet binaril siya ng malayuan. So hindi po nasunod dito yung tinatawag na rules of engagement. Ang nangyari, nagpapanik kayo, sa halip na in-neutralize nyo sa paggamit, dapat may taser, may pepper spray, may batuta. Yung baril, last recourse yun. Ang nangyari kasi sa ating kapulisan, kunting mali lang, medyo papalag na yung suspect, binabaril na.
Mr. President, according to the revised PNP Operational Procedures Manual, no violence or unnecessary force shall be used in making an arrest, and the person to be arrested should not be subjected to any restraint greater than what is necessary under the circumstances. And that is why it is mandated that police officers should carry accessories appropriate to the police operation being performed, including but not limited to ballistic vest, handcuff, whistle, baton, truncheon, pepper spray, tasers, and nightstick to be used in a non-armed confrontation with a violent, uncooperative, and unruly offender. Our law enforcers should also be trained to determine what is necessary and reasonable, taking it into consideration the number of aggressors, nature and characteristics of the weapon used, physical condition, size, and other circumstances to include the place and occasion of the assault. Issue number 3. Aggression during police operations stem from lack of information on the part of the subject of the arrest. Nakailang kaso na po sa aking programa na pumalag sa mga kapulisan ang subject dahil hindi naka-uniforme ang pulis, walang dalang warrant, at walang paliwanag sa subject. Kaya naman, pumapalag ang mga tao dahil hindi nila alam kung sino ang sumusugod sa kanilang tahanan at kung bakit at kung ano na po ang nangyayari. Tapos, kunting palag lang, barilan na agad. And that is why we push for the passing of the bill on body-worn camera for law enforcers. Salamat kay Senator J.V. Ejercito at sa Committee on Public Order at pagpursige din niyang ipinasa ito ngayong Kongreso. Another problem that I have encountered is the data system ng PNP kasama ng e-warrant system. In a number of cases in my program, innocent individuals have been arrested on mistaken identity dahil mali ang pangalan sa warrant o di kaya hindi pala updated ang e-warrant system at inaaresto ulit ang subject sa parehong warrant. Ito po ang nangyari. Please watch the video.
Si Kuya Tuti daw po. Wala po, hindi ito napunta.
Yung pong warang po yun, matagal na po yun. Nangulong na nga po ako dyan, 4 na buwan po.
So, ibig sabihin, yung mga pulis, walang kopya nito.
Wala po.
Nung kumukuha po ako ng police clearance, mayroon daw akong hit. Tapos nagkaroon ng mugshots. Pinaulit-ulit nilang tinatanong sa akin na kung ako ba daw yung taong yun. Sabi ko, hindi ho talaga, sir. Hindi po talaga ako nakasasangkot sa anumang kaso o
Matindi to.
pakikipag-away.
For 8 days na kulong si sir.
Ang huling issue ko po ay ang pagpapatibay ng konsepto ng command responsibility. Sa mga ganitong klaseng insidente, ang kadalasan na napaparusahan ay ang mga mabababang opisyal na sumunod lamang sa utos ng mga superior nila. Pero Mr. President, in all planned police operations, the team leader of the operating team is required to secure a pre-operation clearance prior to the conduct of operation. This clearance must be approved by the chief, commander, or head of the office or unit and must be submitted at the operation section for record purposes. And when it comes to PNP-AFP joint operations, the PNP shall take the lead role in the conduct of sustained law enforcement operations against terrorist groups and other threats to national security, including the service of warrants of arrest. PNP pa rin dapat ang lead role. Pero bakit dito sa kaso ng Alfad, puro AFP lang ang kinasuhan? Dahil ba PNP ang nag-imbestiga? Di ba dapat command responsibility? If the leaders are not held accountable, we cannot expect real change to happen in our law enforcement agencies. Mr. President, laws are created to provide peace and order in a society. And we create law enforcement agencies such as our PNP, as well as the AFP, for national security purposes and to ensure that these laws are obeyed. But what happens when these law enforcers create fear and not sense of peace? I think there's something wrong, and we have to do something. If not, we consider ourselves as accomplices. Thank you, Mr. President. My dear colleagues, good afternoon to all.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We appreciate the speech of our distinguished colleague, Senator Raffy Tulfo. Yes, may we just recognize Senator Risa Ontiveros for her manifestation, so they manifest
Senator Risa
on
Ontiveros
this
is
measure,
recognized.
on this particular issue.
Salamat po, Mr. President, at salamat po sa good gentleman mula sa Isabela para sa kanilang privilege speech at pati po dun sa paggunita sa alaala ni Gemboy Baltasar na tinalakay din po ng Senado sa isang inquiry o investigasyon kung saan bukod dun sa lack of planning na factor na binanggit ng good gentleman ngayon, ay tinalakay sa investigasyong iyon tungkol kay Gemboy yung usapin ng kumilos ba ang PNP doon ng masyadong malakas o batay po sa maling impormasyon. So, muli nagpapasalamat ako sa good gentleman. Una dun sa pag-alala, paggunita dun sa alaala ng isa pang kabataang Filipino, si Gemboy Baltazar. At pangalawa, dun sa patuloy na pagbibigay ng halaga sa patuloy na pag-professionalize ng ating pambansang kapulisan sa ganitong mga usapin ng law enforcement nang may pantay na pag-iingat po sa buhay at kaligtasan ng ating mga kababayan. So muli po, salamat at mabuhay sa good gentleman. Salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Risa. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we refer the privileged speech of our distinguished colleague to the Committee on Public Order and Security and Dangerous Drugs.
Hearing no objection, the privilege speech is referred, yes, to the Committee on Public Order.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, we can move for that 1 minute session, Senate minute,
All right.
with the permission of everyone.
Session suspended for 1 Senate minute.
Thank you, Mr. Recognize our distinguished colleague from the province of Tarlac and Pampanga, rather than Senator Rodante Marcoleta, to avail of the privilege hour, Mr. President.
Senator Dante Marcoleta is recognized.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege, one that strikes at the very heart of public accountability, the integrity of our institutions, and the trust reposed upon us by the Filipino people. On September 25, 2025, former Speaker Martin Romualdez was implicated in the flood control scandal after retired Marine Sergeant Orly Gutesa testified during the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing that the lawmaker is a leading figure in this scandal. Gutesa alleged that as a security aide to former Congressman Saldico, he was tasked to carry and deliver suitcases containing basura, a hideous term they used for files of cash, approximately amounting to 48 million pesos each. He recounted that on one occasion, they brought up 35 suitcases for delivery to a residence identified as that of Martin Romualdez at 40 McKinley Street, Taguig. For 7 months since she was implicated by Gutesa, the former speaker remained silent. Only now has he spoken through a video statement dated April 21, 2026, where he finally addressed the allegations surrounding what is now one of the largest systemic looting of the national treasury in our nation's history, the flood control scandal. Ngunit imbes na maliwanagan ang taong bayan, ang kanyang mga pahayag ay lalong nagbunga ng mas maraming tanong kaysa sagot, Ginoong Pangulo. At first glance, the statement appears to be a defense grounded in law, process, and institutional structure. But upon closer examination, Mr. President, this is not a clarification but a calculated narrative. And it is our duty as members of this chamber to dissect this narrative, expose its inconsistencies, and ensure that the truth is not buried beneath rhetoric. His justification for his prolonged silence, an alleged act of respect for the legal process. But lest we forget, this is the same individual who declined the invitation to appear before the Senate to answer questions under oath. The same individual bestowed upon the inter-parliamentary courtesy by the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee. Let us be clear. Respect for the legal process is not measured by selective participation. It is demonstrated through full and transparent cooperation, especially when public funds and national interest are at stake. Silence and inaction become complicity. He further claimed that he has cooperated with the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, submitting affidavits and documents. But this alleged cooperation was done behind closed doors, without public scrutiny and without any verifiable records accessible to the Filipino people. Until now, when he conveniently authorizes its release. Why only now? Why at a time when the narrative is tightening, when testimonies are emerging, and when key personalities are poised to re-enter the jurisdiction of our laws? Mr. President, timing is everything. And in this case, timing speaks volumes. Let us now address the core of his defense, the claim that he cannot be the mastermind because the budget process is collective, multi-layered, and shared across branches of the government. The former speaker asked, "How can I be the mastermind?" But the question itself is revealing. By contesting only the label of being the mastermind, he implicitly concedes that he was part of the very system he enabled the corruption in flood control projects. He deliberately tried to downplay the role of leadership within that process. The issue then is no longer whether wrongdoing was committed, but the extent of his role in allowing it. Mr. President, those of us who walk through the halls of Congress know this. Nothing moves in the House without the imprimatur of its leadership. The Speaker of the House is not a ceremonial figure. He's not a just passive participant. He's the central authority who controls the legislative agenda, influences committee outputs, and ultimately determines what reaches the plenary. To say that the Speaker is merely one voice among many is to paint a picture of the House that is devoid of reality. Mr. President, alam po nating lahat ang kalakaran sa Kongreso. Nasa kamay ng liderato ang kumpas na magpapasulong sa anumang inisyatibo. By asking how he can be the mastermind, the former Speaker hid behind the complexity of bureaucracy. He repeatedly and thoroughly discussed the entire budget process while also passing the blame to the executive in line with its oversight on implementation and in line with the principle of command responsibility. But, Mr. President, the records of previous congressional and Senate hearings can attest to the fact that corruption does exist within the entire budget process, from budget planning by the executive to budget deliberation by Congress to implementation by the agencies and down to the final scrutiny by the Commission on Audit. To be more specific, while the executive submits the budget proposal, the House leadership decides which amendments are made during the bicameral conference. This is where the real flood control happens, not in the control of rivers, but in the diversion of funds. Sir, the Speaker's defense further falls apart the moment he passes the buck to the former Senate President, Chis Escudero. Senator Escudero led this chamber from May 2024 to September 2025, thereby overseeing the Senate budget deliberations for only the 2025 national budget. Romualdez, on the other hand, served as the House Speaker from July 2022 to September 2025, overseeing the full cycle of 3 national budgets, 2023, 2024, and 2025. Mr. President, the former Speaker also issued a statement that should deeply concern this institution and the entire nation. He declared that he will not go alone and that he knows many things about the current and the past administrations. What does this mean? This is not only a tacit admission that he is part of the whole mess, but also his preparedness to drag all others involved with him. Para bang sinabi niya na kung babagsak man siya, Ginoong Pangulo, hindi siya papayag na siya lang ang mag-isa. Hihilahin din niya ang iba pababa kasama niya. Is this a veiled threat, Mr. President? Is this an admission of knowledge of broader wrongdoing? Or is this an attempt to leverage information as a shield against accountability? If he indeed has knowledge that could implicate others, then he has a duty, not a choice, to disclose it fully and immediately. Truth is not a bargaining chip, Mr. President. It is an obligation owed to the Filipino people. Mr. President, let us not be distracted by narratives of victimhood or claims of political persecution. The issue before us is simple. Public funds intended for flood control, funds meant to protect lives, livelihoods, and communities have been misused, diverted, or rendered ineffective through systemic anomalies. If you create, or worse, deliberately tolerate, as the Speaker, an environment where anomalies are allowed to fester and flourish, where corruption becomes blatant and normalized, then you are not merely complicit. You can be also a mastermind. If you appoint a committee chair who not only overlook the red flags but also helps facilitate widespread corruption, you are answerable. You cannot invoke command responsibility in other departments, yet isolate yourself from the doings of your own chamber. If you preside over a system where questionable allocations persist year after year, you are accountable. Mr. President, accountability cannot be selective. It cannot be convenient. And it certainly cannot be avoided through technicalities nor rhetoric maneuverings. The Filipino people are watching. They are demanding answers, and they deserve nothing less than the full truth. Ang sabi po nila, Ginoong Pangulo, huwag ninyo kaming linlangin. Huwag ninyo kaming paikutin. Ang katahimikan at pagbulag-bulagan ay hindi kawalang kaalaman, bagkus ito'y pakikiisa sa katiwalian. Kapag pikit mata o tikom bibig, ninyong hinayaang mag-ugat at mamayagpag ang anomalya, hindi po iyon inosenteng pagkukulang, kabilang na kayo sa sistemang nagbibigay daan sa paglaganap nito. Mr. President, this representation calls for a relentless pursuit of truth wherever the evidence leads, whoever it implicates, and whatever the consequences may be. Because in the end, the integrity of this institution and the future of our nation depend on it. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo.
Thank you, Majority Leader.
Hello?
Yes,
Yes, thank
Majority
you, Mr.
Leader.
President. Mr. President, I move that the speech of the gentleman from Tarlac and Pampanga be referred to the Committee on Public Accountability, or the Blue Ribbon Committee, Mr. President. And so,
Hearing no objection, so referred.
thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we also recognize our distinguished colleague, Senator Erwin Tulfo, to avail of the privileged hour.
Senator Erwin Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise today on a matter of national urgency, one that touches every Filipino household, every commuter, every farmer and fisherman, every worker, and every enterprise that depends on the lifeblood of our economy, fuel. We all know that Republic Act number 8479, or the Oil Deregulation Law, was enacted to promote competition, ensure a steady supply of petroleum products, and ultimately protect the interests of the Filipino people. Ngunit sa paglipas po ng panahon, malinaw na may kakulangan o tila may mali sa implementasyon nito. Isang problema na sumisira sa tunay na layunin ng batas, ang kawalan ng transparency sa presyuhan ng produktong petrolyo sa mga gasolinahan. Ito po ang nais tugunan ng Senate Bill number 641 ni Senator Win Gatchalian at ng inyong lingkod. This measure, Mr. President, does not seek to dismantle the regulation per se, nor to interfere with legitimate business operations. Sa halip, layunin itong palakasin accountability sa pamamagitan ng transparency o kalinawan sa presyuhan ng produktong petrolyo sa bansa. Sa kasalukuyan kasi, hindi required ang mga oil companies na ibunyag ang detalyadong batayan ng tunay na halaga ng kanilang imported fuel. And because of this, Mr. President, the government, more importantly, the Filipino people, are left in the dark. Nakikita natin ang sunod-sunod na pagtaas ng presyo ng langis sa mga gasolinahan. Ngunit tila walang malinaw na basihan na naintindihan ng taong bayan. Oo nga't may digmaan po ngayon na nagaganap sa Middle East Pero dahilan ba ito para sumirit agad sa higit 100 piso ang bawat litro ng krudo, ilang araw pa lang ang giyera doon? Tila tayo lang po, Ginong Pangulo, ang bansa sa Asia na tumaas ng halos 50% ang presyo ng petrolyo sa ating mga gasolinahan. Hindi rin po malinaw ang paliwanag ng mga oil companies na kapag tumaas ang presyo ng petrolyo sa world market, kinabukasan ay kailangang itaas na rin ang presyo ng petrolyo sa ating mga gasolinahan. At kapag bumaba naman ang presyo ng petrolyo sa pandaigdigang kalakalan, kapiranggot lang ang rollback ng petrolyo sa bansa at hindi na balik pa sa dating presyo nito. Bakit po ganoon? Kaya dapat nating itanong, are these price adjustments truly reflective of global market trends? O pinapataas lang nila kumita ng mas malaki at ang papasan ay ang mga mamamayan? Senate Bill number 641 provides a concrete answer. Sa ilalim ng panukalang ito, binibigyan ng mas malinaw na kapangyarihan ng Department of Energy, alinsunod sa mandato nito upang puwersahin na ang oil companies na ilatag ang actual cost ng kanilang imported fuel, kasamang acquisition costs, freight charges, taxes at iba pang components na bumubuo sa presyo ng ating mga gasolinahan. With this authority, the government will finally have the tools to scrutinize pricing structures and determine whether the increase are justified or whether they impose an undue burden on Filipino consumers. Sa madaling sabi, Ginong Pangulo, maaari nang makialam at may say na ika nga ang pamahalaan sa presyuhan ng petrolyo sa bansa. Let me be clear. This is not about punishing the industry. May malinaw na safeguard ang panukala. Pinoprotektahan ang confidential at proprietary information ng mga kumpanya habang binibigyan ng pamahalaan ng sapat na kakayahan upang gampanan ang tungkulin nitong bantayan at ipagtanggol ang kapakanan ng mamayan. Transparency is about protecting the public. It builds trust, it ensures fairness, and it prevents abuse. Sa pagtaas po ng ating cost of living, bawat piso ay mahalaga. Kapag tumaas kasi ang presyo ng langis, tiyak, natataas ang pamasahe, ang presyo ng pagkain, kuryente at iba pang pangunahing bilihin. At gaya ng nakasanayan, ang pinakaapektado ay ang ordinaryong mamayang Pilipino. We cannot allow this practice anymore to continue in a sector that is so vital to our national welfare. Colleagues, this bill is a step forward, restoring balance between free enterprise and public accountability, between profit and protection, between deregulation and responsible governance. Bilang co-author ng panukalang ito, nakikisa ako sa principal author na si Senator Win Gatchalian sa pagsulong ng Senate Bill number 641. And I respectfully urge this chamber to likewise support this measure para matiyak natin na ang sistema ng presyuhan ng gasolina sa ating bansa ay mas malinaw at mas makatarungan sa bawat Pilipino. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the speech of the good gentleman from Palawan, Republic of the Philippines, Senator Erwin Tulfo, be referred to the Committee on Energy, Mr. President.
Committee on Energy. Hearing no objection, so referred.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senator Jinggoy. Wala? Senator Jinggoy. Senator Jinggoy. Wala. Si Senator Jinggoy, sponsor po ba niya yung speech? Bukas na? It's going down. I may ask this for a minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session suspended.
Mr. President, I move that we consider committee report number 56. I so move, Mr. President. This is the alleged LGU bypass in Dupax del Norte, Dupax del Norte mining. I so move, Mr. President. We take it up.
This is, it's already in the calendar for special orders, right?
Yes. Is it to the calendar
is.
special?
All right.
I move to transfer from the calendar of special business to special order.
It's already in the special orders.
So it's been transferred already?
That's it.
Yes. So I so move.
It's in the calendar for ordinary business. Okay, may we entertain a motion to
Yes,
transfer?
Mr. President, I move that we transfer to the calendar of ordinary business to special order.
Special orders. Any objection? Hearing none, so transferred.
Mr. President, I move that we take up committee report number 56 and recognize the chairperson of the committee, Senator Jinggoy Ejercito Estrada, Committee on Local Government, to sponsor the
Consideration of committee report number 56 is in order, and Senator Jinggoy Estrada is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the 1987 Philippine Constitution provides a strong legal framework for environmental protection. The principle of local autonomy is also enshrined in our fundamental law. Republic Act number 7160, or the Local Government Code of 1991, concretizes this mandate by devolving powers, responsibilities, and resources to local government units, enabling them to become primary implementers in the protection, management, and sustainable use of our natural resources. But how do we reconcile this with instances where there has been a purported systemic exclusion of LGUs in the issuance of an exploration permit to a huge mining company? Today, the Senate Committee, your Senate Committee on Local Government, joined with the Committee on Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change, submits Committee Report number 56 and reports the outcome of our public hearings and consultations with the key stakeholders, including the local government of Dupax del Norte, affected barangays, residents, and private sector representatives in relation to the exploration activities of Wogal Corporation in the said municipality in Nueva Vizcaya. Mr. President, the province of Nueva Vizcaya is considered the watershed or haven for the entire Region 2, or Cagayan Valley. It hosts several major watersheds that feed into key river systems such as the Magat River and Cagayan River, the longest river in the Philippines, as well as forest reserves and protected landscapes that are critical for local communities and wildlife. During the course of the committee's 2 public hearings, we learned that Wogal Corporation, a subsidiary of British mining firm Metals Exploration, applied for an exploration permit from the Mines and Geosciences Bureau as early as July 4 of the year 2022. Their application covers 3,101.11 hectares of land located in 5 barangays in the municipality of Dupax del Norte, Nueva Vizcaya, with the purpose of exploring gold, copper, lead, zinc, and other associated minerals. Thereafter, on August 4, 2025, MGB issued exploration permit to Wogal Corporation and registered the same with the regional office on August 7 of 2025. Wogal Corporation held meetings, presentations with the barangays after the permit's issuance. Only a few days after, the mining company commenced exploration activities, which involved digging several hundred feet to the ground to acquire 1 samples to determine whether or not the area is potentially rich in gold and other minerals. But the exploration activities were met with strong opposition, not just from the residents, but also from the barangays concerned, pointing out that there was no genuine consultation and there was no endorsement from the local government units. Paano masasabi nagkaroon ng masusing konsultasyon kung isang araw lamang ito ginawa ng Wogal Corporation sa bawat barangay at sa lokal na pamahalaan ng Dupax del Norte? Ang mas malala pa, ang attendance sheet at certification mula sa ilang barangay ang ginawang attachment at basihan ng mining company para sa kanilang exploration permit application. Gayong presentation lamang ang ginawa ng Wogal tulad ng sinabi ng mga kapitan ng mga barangay. Thereafter, the LGUs covered by the exploration permit had adopted resolutions opposing the exploration activities and requested the MGB to immediately cancel the permit issued to Wogal Corporation, citing the absence of consultations as mandated under the Philippine Mining Act and its implementing rules and regulations, as well as the local government code, in order to ensure that exploration or mining activities are undertaken with transparency, social acceptability, and consideration of the welfare of the people. Mr. President, the lack of genuine public consultation in mining activities still persists. Such actions of regulatory agencies and the mining company involved not only undermine the fundamental principle of local autonomy, but also the spirit of participatory governance. Without genuine public consultations, there are serious concerns about transparency and accountability. It deprives LGUs of their voice and authority on vital projects that are, time and again, expected to have far-reaching implications, not just on the environment, but also on the livelihood of residents. Thus, the committee recommends that the Philippine Mining Act of 1995 and relevant issuance of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources be amended to reflect the true essence of local autonomy and remove continuing misgivings about whether or not prior community and Sangguniang consultation must occur and what constitutes sufficient compliance even in exploration permit applications. It is imperative that we revisit and strengthen mechanisms that ensure meaningful consultation, genuine consent, and active participation of local governments in decisions that directly impact the environment and their constituents. The committee further finds that stronger safeguards are needed for mining exploration applications that affect protected areas, watersheds, forest reserves, agriculture production zones, and national greening program sites. We recommend that the law should mandate a more rigorous review and evaluation of the proposed permit area, along with a clear determination that is legally open to mining and consistent with existing environmental, land use, and resource management laws and policies. Inirekomenda rin ng komite na ang pagpaparusa sa material misrepresentation kaugnay ng konsultasyon at local government endorsement, kabilang na ang agarang kanselasyon o hindi paggawad ng permit. Nais din ng komite na palakasin ang boses ng mga mamayan sa local governance at bibigang halaga kung mayroong malawakang oposisyon mula sa mga residente at lokal na pamahalaan kaugnay ng anumang sa tingin nila ay mapaminsalang proyekto na makakaapekto sa kanilang pamayanan. Thus, regulatory agencies must consider the findings of the committee and its recommendations that genuine public consultation and free and informed consent from residents and LGUs affected must take place before any exploration activity. For the residents, farmers, and indigenous peoples of Dupax del Norte, the people of Nueva Vizcaya, and the nation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Yes. May we recognize Senator...
Senator Erwin Tulfo is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo. Ginoong Pangulo, mga kagalang-galang na kasama sa Senado, nais ko pong ipaabot ang aking taus-pusong pasasalamat sa Chairman ng Committee on Local Government, si Senador Jingo Estrada, sa kanyang agarang pagkilos at masusing investigasyon sa nangyaring anomalya sa Dupax del Norte na siyang nag-ugat sa aking privilege speech ngayong ikalawa ng Pebrero. Ang mga natuklasan po sa Committee Report number 56 ay nagpapatunay lamang na mayroong malaking butas sa ating kasalukuyang batas. Isang butas na nagbibigay daan upang mabaliwala ang boses ng ating mga kababayan. ang tunggalian sa pagitan ng mga residente ng Dupax del Norte at ng Mughal Corporation ay isang malinaw na halimbawa nito. Bilang tugon po sa naturang committee report, ang inyo pong lingkod ay maghahain ng panukalang batas na siyang naglalayong amyendahan ang Philippine Mining Act, partikular na ang Section 21, kung saan sisiguruhing mayroong paunang konsultasyon sa komunidad at lokal na pamahalaan bago pa man maaprubahan ang exploration permit. Inaasahan kong muli ang suporta po ng aking mga kasama sa panukalang batas na ito. Hindi dapat mapunta sa karahasan ang usapin ng kalikasan at kabuhayan. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo.
Mr. President, we recognize Senator Robin Padilla.
Senator Robin Padilla is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa ating pinunong mayorya. Ako po ay tumitingdig ngayon upang i-co-sponsor at magpahayag ng pagsuporta hinggil sa committee report sa issue ng proyektong pagmimina at exploration sa Dupax del Norte, Nueva Vizcaya. Ako po ay buong pusong nagpapasalamat kay Senator Jinggoy Estrada, ang tagapangulo po ng komite ng local government, at kay Senator Erwin Tulfo, sapagkat personal po ang ating pakay dito sa pangyayari na ito, sapagkat kung natatandaan niyo po, tayo po'y tumindig dito at nagpahayag po tayo ng matinding sama ng loob, sapagkat ito po'y paulit-ulit na. Ito pong pang-aabuso sa ating mga katutubo, lagi na lamang pong nangyayari, at ang laging culprit dito ay ang mga minero. Kaya po sana, ito pong pagkakataon nito na naungkat na po ito. Ito po sanang 20th Congress ay magkaroon na po sana ng kasagutan ang hinaing ng ating mga katutubo, sapagkat pagtungkol na sa kanila, lagi na lamang po itong nakakalimutan. Pag-uusapan at makakalimutan. Ito pong pangyayari na ito ay iregalo na po natin sa aming yumao kay Governor Carlos Padilla. Alam ko naman po na lahat kayo dito ay kilala niyo po ang aking amain. Alam niyo po ang kanyang ipinaglaban. At umaasa po ako na itong pangyayari na ito ang magbubukas sa ating mga mata na hanggang sa mga oras na ito, ang ating mga katutubo ay inaabuso, hindi lamang ng mga dayuhang kumpanya, kung hindi ng mga local government officials, na hanggang sa ngayon ay dinideny nila na hindi nila alam ito. Kaya sana po, mga mahal kong kasama, kung ano man ang panukala na ihahain natin para dito, ay magkaroon na po ng liwanag ang kinabukasan ng ating mga katutubo. Marami pong salamat.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, may we recognize as well Senator Lauren Legarda.
Senator Lauren Legarda is recognized.
Give me a hard copy of the final. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise today to co-sponsor the committee report in defense of the people of Dupax del Norte. Senator Erwin Tulfo sounded the alarm on January 31, exposing how Woggle Corporation pushed an open-pit mining project over 3,100 hectares without genuine consultation, without respect for local autonomy, without regard for indigenous people. A barangay meeting was misrepresented as public consultation. Hindi ito konsultasyon, ito ay paglilinlang. The site lies near the Kaseknan Protected Landscape legislated under E-NIPAS Act, a watershed vital for food and energy security. Kung masisira ang ating kalikasan, nanganganib din sa pagkasira ang ating supply ng pagkain, enerhiya at maging ang kinabukasan ng susunod na henerasyon. On January 23, over 300 police and SWAT personnel dispersed unarmed civilians, arresting community leader Florentino Dinos and 6 indigenous women, the Dupac 7. Their only defense was a human barricade. This is not just about one corporation. It is about integrity in governance, respect for indigenous rights, protection of our environment. Walang tunay na kaunlaran kung ito ay may bahid ng paglilinlang, pang-aabuso, pagkasira ng kalikasan. Ang trahedya sa Dupax del Norte ay nagsilbing tagapagmulat na ang ehekutibo, the executive, ay dapat magpatupad ng may katapatan at pananagutan at ang mangbabatas ay dapat magsulong ng mga reformang bubuo ng mas matibay na proteksyon laban sa pang-aabuso. I therefore urge our esteemed colleagues for the approval of this report. Ating galangin ang tinig ng bayan, ipagtanggol ang karapatan ng ating mga katutubo, ingatan ang kalikasan na siyang ugat ng ating kinabukasan. Thank you, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, last but not the least, we'd like to recognize Senator Risa Ontiveros, our Deputy Majority Floor Leader.
Senator Risa Ontiveros, recognized.
Salamat po, Mr. President. Maikling manifestasyon ng mabuhay. Mabuhay kay Senator Erwin sa kanilang pagpapahayag ng privilege speech na nagbunyag nitong issue sa ating lahat. Mabuhay kay Chair Jinggoy Estrada sa pagpapahayag nila ngayon ng isang napakalakas at unequivocal na committee report alang-alang sa sambayanan ng Dupax del Norte. At mabuhay sa mga mamamayan ng Dupax del Norte, na kaisa ng diwa ni dating Gobernador Ruth Padilla at ng yumaong dakilang si Manong Kaloy Padilla ay ipinagtatanggol ang pamana sa kanila ng kanilang mga ninuno na kanilang inaalagaan para sa ating lahat. Dahil po sa committee report na ito, Mr. President, lalo po akong nabubuhayan ng loob sa iba't ibang mga panukala natin dito sa Senado. Kasama na po yung aking panukalang batas ng Alternative Minerals Management Bill na layong pagsamahin yung pagtataguyod ng karapatan ng bawat komunidad na mining affected, kasama na po yung mga katutubong Filipino sa kanilang mga lupang ninuno at ang pagpapaunlad at pakikinabang ng bawat Pilipino sa pamamagitan ng pagpapaunlad ng maayos na pagpapaunlad ng industriya ng pagmimina sa ating ekonomiya. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President, at muli mabuhay sa ating mga kasama.
Majority Leader. Senator Lauren Legarda again.
Thank you again, Mr. President. I failed to recognize the sponsor of the committee report while I mentioned Senator Erwin Tulfo as having brought it to our attention. I am grateful to the good sponsor that he immediately heard it and that he reported out the committee report on Dupax del Norte today. So I'm grateful to Senator Jinggoy Estrada. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Jingo Estrada.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I would like to thank my colleagues, Senators Robin Padilla, Lauren Legarda, Risa Ontiveros, and of course, Senator Erwin Tulfo. The reason why I heard this or passed this committee report is because it stemmed from the privileged speech of Senator Erwin Tulfo. Again, I would like to thank my colleagues for supporting this particular measure. Thank you very much.
All right, Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. To allow our colleagues to study the committee report further, and maybe there may be interpellations later on, I move to suspend consideration of the measure.
Hearing no objection, consideration is suspended.
Mr. President, we'd like to recognize our distinguished colleague, Senator Pia Cayetano, to give a manifestation.
Senator Pia Cayetano is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, as the chairperson of the Committee on Energy, I would like to bring attention to the growing concern of many Filipinos who have been shocked by the recent surge in their electricity bill. This very short clip will explain the concern that I'm bringing to your attention, Your Honors.
Sa init ng panahon ngayon, aminado si Hazel na mas madalas naka-on ang kanilang nag-iisang aircon. Pero tiwala siyang pareho lang ang konsumo niya ng kuryente ngayong buwan gaya noong Abril ng nakaraang taon. Kaya laking gulat niya pagdating ng bill, 7,013 pesos ang singil, kumpara sa 5,560 noong nakaraang buwan.
Alam ko naman na nagdagdag ako ng oras sa aircon, so expected na rin po yun. Pero mas mataas talaga siya, unlike last year.
May netizens ding nag-post tungkol sa kanilang bill shock o pagkagulat sa biglang sipa ng kanilang bill sa kuryente. Si Ivy Ocon galit na galit. Napakarami pa raw charges na umaabot sa mahigit 4,000 pesos. Halos 1,000 pesos din daw ang tax.
Okay, Mr. President. So, gusto ko lang ipakita na ito talaga ang mga pinag-uusapan, mga nanay, mga tatay, mga tambay, lahat ito ho ang bumabagabag sa kanila. Bakit ganun daw kalaki ang bayarin sa kuryente? Across households, we are hearing the same story, consumers suddenly facing unusually high charges in their electricity bill. For many families, these increases have prompted questions and a desire for clearer information on how electricity costs are determined. These are valid questions, Mr. President, and they deserve clear, transparent, and timely answers. Hindi ko ho objective na sagutin ito ngayon, pero I will add to the concerns of I will try to add a bit of clarity here so that everyone can be on the same page as we address this issue. What are the components of the electricity bill? There's the generation charge, the distribution charge, transmission charge, systems loss, and other charges. Ano ngayon itong other charges? Meron pong lifeline subsidy, merong senior citizens discount, may feed-in tariff, may GEA all for renewables, green energy auction ang ibig sabihin ng GEA, and may universal charge. So based on reports, distribution utilities claim that these charges were approved by the Energy Regulatory Commission. For its part, the ERC says that these charges are based on existing laws and taxes. But Mr. President, even when charges are approved, and even when they comply with existing laws and regulations, we must still ask, do they continue to serve the best interests of the public? That is what we are here for as elected members of the Senate. Because legality is a minimum standard. Public interest must always be the higher standard that guides us. For this reason, the Committee on Energy will be conducting a hearing on this matter next week, and I invite all my colleagues, all of whom I know are very much concerned about this plight that our kababayans are faced with. And we hope to examine the factors that may have contributed to the increases in electricity costs with the end in view of clarifying issues, aligning existing law with public welfare, even amending existing laws, and identifying areas where further improvement in government policy may be needed. Before I end, Mr. President, dagdag ko lang dun sa other charges, kasama din dyan ang taxes. So with that, Mr. President, I hope to see you all in the Committee on Energy hearing, which we will send a notice very soon. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Majority Leader.
Thank you very much to our distinguished colleague, the chairperson of the Committee on Energy. This is very timely indeed what her plan is to do in her committee. Mr. President, just some admin matters. I move to change the primary committee referral of the following bills from the Committee on Rules to the Committee on Health and Demography, as these bills have been passed in the House of Representatives and already been referred to us, Mr. President. They're local bills. Senate Bill number 1833, Capiz Medical Center. Senate Bill number 1195, the Bukidnon Provincial Hospital. And Senate Bill number 1429, Soc-Sargent Regional Medical Center in South Cotabato. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
President, with that, the minority will not object to this motion. I move that we adjourn session, Mr. President, until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Tuesday, May 5, 2026. I so
Any
move.
objection? Hearing none, the session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Tuesday, May 5, 2026.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.